Blood TCG. We have Will versus Matt here. So on the left we have Will. He is currently playing Warrior, and on the right we have Matt, who's playing Ninja. This is a constructed game, so both of them are playing the only heroes available for those classes in constructed: Dorinthea Ironsong and Katsu the Wanderer, and they are playing on the ladder as well. So let's see what happens in this ladder game of Flesh and Blood. So looking at the stuff that's going on here, the game is just set up. Both players are using relatively standard equipment for their class. The one thing on the right here, we do see Snapdragon Scalers used. There's often a choice for Ninja between Snapdragon Scalers and Breeze Rider Boots. And in some cases, I think Breeze Rider Boots is a more common choice against Warrior, simply because it provides you with an extra point of armor, which can be quite helpful in stopping those on-hit effects. However, the Snapdragon Scalar's ability is generally stronger in my view, even though it doesn't have the point of armor. It's a lot more flexible. Whereas the Breeze Rider's has ability that has a stronger peak, but it's not as reliable. You're not gonna be able to use it as much, though it does come with that point of armor. Um, and so we're seeing so Will is going first here, he's just gonna throw out a Dawnblade swing, and Matt actually responds with a triple block. So normally this would be a giant overcommitment to this defense, but because this is the first turn and Matt is going second, he's going to refill his hand. So he probably knows I'm going to refill my hand, therefore it doesn't really matter that I'm going down this far on cards for this block. I just want to make sure that he doesn't have some trick that can get in. And that's actually, in this case, I think it was a pretty good move. There was a Singing Steel Blade in hand, so if Matt had blocked with a single card, Will could have played that Singing Steel Blade, fetched a Glint the Quicksilver, gotten +1 attack and go again, which would then get him over the top and allow him to swing in again. Though even then, we could have just seen more blocks coming out, so it's hard to say. And now we're seeing just the very standard Ninja attack pattern here. He pitches and swings the Harmonized Kadachi for 1 with go again. He pitches and swings another 1 for 1 with go again. And then he's going to come in here with Whelming Gust Wave. Okay, so it is not enabled, so this is just coming in for 1 with no go again. If it hits, it will draw a card from the Mask of Momentum, though. When an attack action card you control is the 3rd or higher chain link in a row to hit, draw a card. And it would also potentially allow him to fire off Katsu's ability. The thing is, he'd have to use his Snapdragon Scalers. I think that if I were Will, I would block with my bolters, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So he's bringing out the Refraction Bolters here, blocking for 1. When your weapon attack hits, you may destroy it. If you do, the attack gains go again. Now we could see Matt use Breaking Scales to get over that, but I'm not sure he's going to do it. It would require losing his point of armor, as he has not defended with that yet. So for now, Matt says no AR, so he could have used this Breaking Scales, destroy it for a target attack action card with combo gains +1. It also has Battle Warren. If you defend with it, put a -1 counter on it when the combat chain closes. Against Warrior, where on-hit effects are very relevant, this point of armor can be very helpful, especially because it's the only point of armor that this Ninja configuration actually has that they can easily afford to get rid of. So they have 1 point of armor on Breaking Scales. Because he used those Snapdragons, he doesn't have a point of armor on his boots. He has 1 point of armor on his tunic, but if he uses it, it will break. And he has 2 points of armor on Mask of Momentum, but if he uses it, it will break. So he's just going to end the turn. And so we're going to see, oh man, this is a big one. So a Steel Blade Supremacy until end of turn. Target weapon gains +2, and whenever this weapon hits, draw a card. Go again. Into a Sharpened Steel. Next weapon attack this turn gains +3. Into a Dawnblade Swing. So this is coming in at strength 8, and it will draw on hit. He is floating 1 energy, and he does have a Singing Steel Blade in hand, which he could potentially use as a trick. This is an extraordinarily dangerous attack, because not only is it coming in for a really big number, he can potentially do other stuff that's going to make this even more threatening. So the dream scenario here for Will, I think, is that Matt blocks to exactly 8, and then Will plays Singing Steelblade, finds to go up to by 1, finds a glint. The glint allows him to go again. Okay, so Matt's not going to block, so I suspect what Will's going to do is use his refraction bolters here to get go again after this attack hits, and then come in with another big swing that also threatens to put a token on the Dawnblade. But we'll have to see. This is so Will may have decided, it looks like he has a decent blocking hand. He can block for 11. And I guess if he does it this way, it will also, or Matt has a decent blocking hand. I guess if he does it this way, Will also be forced to use his bolters. Yep, there are the bolters being used. So he did a good job of blocking early with these, so he didn't waste his point of armor. When your weapon attack hits, you may destroy refraction bolters. If you do, the attack gains go again. So he destroys the bolters, and he gets a free draw from his Steelblade Supremacy. And this is actually an until end of turn, so this sword is going to swing actually at Strength 5. And okay, so that's a defense item. So he has 2 reactions in hand, but he doesn't have the energy for them, so he should probably use his bracers. Okay, so he didn't do that. Well, that's fine. Matt's still not blocking. I think he's just accepted that he's going to get hit hard this turn. This is another reason that it might have been good to use the bracers. So Matt doesn't block and gets hit again, this time for 5 damage. And we'll get a card draw from that, but it barely matters. The only thing that would matter is if he drew like a healing instant, he would be able to play it before he drew up. So if he had a Sigil of Solace in there, for instance, but I don't think he's running it. Yeah, and if he was, I don't know if he's running it. I don't think it's all that good, and if he was running it, it didn't show up. Okay, so we've seen Matt just take a lot of damage. He took 13 damage that turn, 8 from the first swing and 5 from the second swing. And I think he decided I need to make my own turn go huge. So I'm just going to throw caution to the winds here. I'm going to put up a crazy turn of my own with whatever I can muster. And, yes, my opponent is going to get a lot of damage and get a Dawnblade counter, but so be it. So the dangerous thing about the Dawnblade here is, if it hits and it's the second time it's hit, it gets a +1 counter. And that allows you to potentially charge up and go crazy. So now so this is actually really dangerous. So he has this Plunder Run. The next time an attack action card you control hits this turn, draw a card. If Plunder Run is played from Arsenal, the next attack action card you play this turn gains +3, go again. So this is really dangerous. This card is coming in for a total of 6. So he blocks 3. This is a mistake here from Matt. I think you actually need to block the full 6 on this one, because of the huge threat of the draw of the 2 card draws, one from the Mask of Momentum and one from the Plunder Run. I think that I would be blocking the full 6 here. Make your opponent spend this. I mean, I guess he could spend Breaking Scales even then. I don't know. So I think that Will is counting on the Springboard Somersault that he has in Arsenal to save him here. But if that Razor Reflex is played, it's not going to. So we'll see. Will have his Spring Tunic charge next turn, so unless he defends with it and breaks it, which is extremely unlikely, he will be able to at least throw out an attack. And yep, there's the Razor Reflex coming out, so that's up to 9, and Will is not going to be able to stop it. So Will passes, and so that's going to be 6 damage getting in, and 2 cards drawn, and go again from Razor Reflex. And we can now see Katsu's ability come into play. But he's not doing it. Okay. Yeah, so he could have used Katsu's ability here to find the rest of his combo, but I guess without very many things discarded for Lord of Wind, it doesn't make that much sense to do. So instead, he's just going to throw out a Command and Conquer here, which can potentially break the card that he has that Will has in Arsenal. If I'm Will, yeah, it's interesting. So he drew Magenshi. He could have. Oh yeah, he didn't even need to. He didn't even need to use that because he could have used the Magenshi to find the Lord of Wind. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting there with the CNC instead of the Magenshi release, but I think because he didn't have very many other pieces of the combo, Lord of Wind wouldn't have been that impactful. I assume that's what he was thinking. Because if you look at his discard, he has like one Whelming Gust Wave, and that's it. So Lord of Wind gets a lot better the more stuff that you have to charge it up. The question now is, are we going to see a block? I actually would not block this CNC, but it looks like Will is going to. The thing is, I think it's costing him too much momentum to do this. I don't think it's worth it to do. Um, I think I would just take the damage, lose. I think I would just take the damage, lose the somersault, and come back with a big attack of my own. So in this case, Matt took a lot of damage and then made a big attack, and I think he has successfully regained a lot of tempo. So now we're going to see Will swinging that Dawn Blade. It is coming in for 4. But this can actually be blocked pretty easily. All he needs is a single 3 block and the breaking scales, and that will reset Will's Dawn Blade. At which point, the initiative will change, and Matt will have the opportunity to throw out another big attack. Grendel says, "Yeah, Lord of Wind could only get +1." Yep, and exactly as I was predicting, we see a 3 block card and a breaking scales, and that is going to be enough to shut down this attack. Yep, so that's the counter will fall off Dawnblade. This is the downside of Dawnblade. At the beginning of your end phase, if Dawnblade did not hit this turn, remove all +1 counters from Dawnblade. So it has the nice offense, but then if it goes wrong and you get a turn where the opponent can stop you completely, you're going to lose any counters you may have built up. Now, luckily for Will, Matt's hand is not actually very good. Grendel says, yeah, it's kind of interesting. He had a counter on Dawnblade. He might have been advantaged by just eating phase for that whole entire turn. Yeah, I think that I think personally I would have double blocked against the Whelming Gust Wave, but after having done that, I think I would not have defended the CNC. Although if you double block the Whelming Gust Wave, he plays Razor and then you play Somersault and just stop him there, so I guess it's kind of immaterial because the CNC doesn't even come out. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so then we're seeing another Razor Reflex play here. So amusingly, it appears that Matt has drawn all 3 of his Razor Reflexes very early, which is actually not really what you want to see. Yes, they're really good cards, but you're kind of overdoing it in a certain sense, if you know what I mean. It's so he is going to score this hit. He gets his draw with Mask of Madness, and he does get Go Again. Unfortunately, he would like to draw probably a 0-cost card that he could then switch into a Blackout Kick, but that doesn't happen, and he just throws the 3rd Razor Reflex into Arsenal. So yes, he got the cool Go Again, but the draw didn't really get him probably what he most wanted. Now, interestingly, Matt could have stopped that if he wanted, but he did not want to. So let's see what he does want to do. Ooh. Okay, so Matt Will could have stopped that. I got him mixed up. So Will throwing out a Spoils of War. Next weapon attack this turn gains +2 and Go Again. Whenever a weapon you control hits this turn, create 2 copper. He also plays Dauntless. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +1. The next defense reaction the defending hero plays this turn costs an additional 1 to play. Go Again. And then he swings the Dawnblade. There's no defense there from Matt, so this attack does get in, dealing 6 damage. Matt probably trying to get another big turn. He has a CNC. He has multiple Go Again cool things. And then we see a pitch for the bracers and swing with Dawnblade. So interestingly, he actually could have played this card to give the next attack +2 because he already attacked with a weapon, and then used his tunic to pay for the swing. So he could have come in for 5 instead of for 4. But Matt, I think, is trying to get another big turn, so he doesn't defend that at all. 4 damage gets in, and that's a counter on Dawnblade. I'm going to point out to Will that he gets 2 more copper. as that is actually mandatory. Wow, so this is a really weird situation. So his draw here is very bad. He's drawn Pursuit, Overpower, Command and Conquer, and Flock. Flock is actually a good card to have in some circumstances. Like, he has his Tunic charged up. If he had a card he could reveal to play Flock, Flock would be great here, because he could defend with 2 cards and still have a relatively good turn. He could defend with 2 cards plus his arsenal, still have a relatively good turn by playing Flock. I don't know, though. He probably wants to swing Dawnblade. The problem is Flock requires you to reveal a card that costs 1 or less, and he doesn't have one in hand, so his Flock is just unplayable. I would actually defend this with the Flock. No, he doesn't do that. So the thing that I think could be better here is, so I would defend this with Flock plus Bracers. I think that he needs to try to stop these mask triggers. He doesn't block. Okay. There's the Razor Reflex. Razor Reflex matters a lot less in this situation because it isn't granting Go Again. But, you know, this really is a situation where I think defending with that Flock would be a good idea, because he should see that it can't be played. And as a result of that, I think he wants to get it out of there. On the plus side, the fact that he used his Somersault there does mean that this Command and Conquer is now swinging at an empty arsenal, so it's going to be a lot less effective. Additionally, Matt is not going to have a card in hand of his own, so it's probably a good opportunity to defend with your own Command and Conquer. I might actually defend with, well, no, because he wants to swing his Dawnblade because it has a counter. So I think probably what we're going to see is pitch Flock to swing Dawnblade, and then if the opponent defends, you can actually hit that Overpower. You can trigger the, you can pitch the Pursuit of Knowledge to trigger the Overpower. No, okay, so he's gonna keep the Flock for now. I guess he can keep that for later. He could still pitch it in a different order if he thinks the Pursuit's going to get pitched anyway. There's no block here. He's going to pass, and 4 damage gets in. Yeah, and then, okay, so then the Flock is going to go into Arsenal. Both players pretty low here, 14-13. This has been a pretty quick game. Both players are playing very aggressively. Ooh, man, and we see some even more aggressive stuff there in Will's hand. He has the Iron Song. He could use Iron Song Determination, Red Warrior's Valor, come in with for, what is that, 8? Yeah, come in for 8, Go Again, Dominate. If it hit, or 8 if it hits Go Again and Dominate. However, there is a Unmovable in hand here that could be used to ward that off. Surging Strike coming in here. This is the start of the classic combo line there with Surging Strike, Whelming Gust Wave, Magenshi Release. And it is blocked by equipment this time, but that is going to leave an Unmovable in Arsenal for Matt. Yeah, he blocked 6. Which does stop that. It overblocked by 1, but that's actually kind of a safe move. So there is an Unmovable in Arsenal here, but he doesn't really have good pitch for it. Bit of an awkward situation. So Warrior's Valor, next weapon attack this turn gains +3, and if this hits the attack gains Go Again. Iron Song Determination, target weapon gains +1 and Dominate until end of turn. And then the Dawnblade itself with the counter coming in for 8 with Dominate and Go Again on hit. This is very dangerous. We don't see any block coming out from Matt, though, because he does have that Unmovable, which he's going to play here. It's a red Unmovable, so it actually blocks for all 8, as it is played from Arsenal. But he needs to pitch more. This would be an amazing play, and it is a great play. You know, this is one of the few things that's going to shut down this very strong attack, but he has to pitch 2 cards from his hand to play it because he didn't have a blue, which is going to leave his next turn a little unimpressive, especially because one of his cards is a Scar for a Scar, which is really not, yeah, his hand is not good in this circumstance. I might just throw out the Scar for a Scar, like Plunder Run and Arsenal, just throw out the Scar for 4 damage. That's probably what I do here, yep. Scar for a Scar comes out for the 4 damage. I think, well, we'll see. We could see another Iron Song Determination play from Will. He's got to think about what he wants to do on the defense here. The other thing he could do is try to do a hit and run. He could pitch the Iron Song Determination, play hit and run, swing, and then play the Pursuit of Knowledge that he has in his. Or I'm sorry, no, he didn't put the Pursuit of Knowledge in Arsenal. He put the Flock in Arsenal. Yeah, so that's going to make that play a lot worse. Although actually he could do it, but he would have to show the Springboard Somersault. Okay, so he's gonna play Flock, showing the hit and run. So Flock is an interesting card. You have to set this up right, because it not only costs 1, but as an additional cost, you have to reveal a card in your hand with cost 1 or less. We saw earlier that he had one of these, but didn't have a card in hand that he could reveal to play it. However, it gives you a Quicken Aura token automatically, regardless of whether or not it hits. So a lot of cards that are attacks that give you something extra, the extra thing only happens if you hit. The nice thing about Flock of the Featherwalkers is you're going to get that Quicken Aura token, regardless of whether or not your attack hits. So he now has this Quicken Aura. When you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy Quicken, and then the attack gains go again. And this is coming in for 5 damage as well. We see no block from Matt. Matt, again, taking some heat in order to get a more aggro turn of his own going down to 8 life. And there's a Quicken token here, which means there is going to be go again on this next turn. This is a pretty dangerous situation. But he is going to try to pull off another big turn. He has the Plunder Run in Arsenal, red Plunder Run. Next time an attack action you control hits this turn, draw a card. If Plunder Run is played from Arsenal, the next attack action card you play this turn gets +3. He's then going to pitch a Lord of Wind and go for a classic Harmonized Kadachi. 1 damage got through, I think, and then we're going to switch into a Surging Strike for 8 with go again, and it will draw on hit. We're going to have to see what happens here. This is a opportunity. This is obviously an opportunity for Matt to do a lot of damage. Let's see how Will responds to this. It will actually, yeah, the draw is not something you want to give your opponent. On the other hand, sometimes against Surging Strike, you have to just kind of take the hit and defend against their more valuable stuff that's going to come out later. So this is a tough one. You know, both players are also very low on life, so it's an interesting game. You know, there's a bit of, oh, you know, if I defend this, I can put together a really big attack. I'm going to lose my momentum, but if I don't defend this, I'm going to go really low, but maybe I can throw together my own big attack. However, the hand that it's additionally difficult because the hand that Will has is going to require him to have a bunch of cards to play it properly. Interesting. So he opts to use his Springboard Somersault, but not otherwise defend. Oh, and he's going to go for the Steelblade Shunt as well. So he goes for both of his defense reactions. Springboard Somersault for 4 because it's from Arsenal, and then the Steelblade Shunt also for 4. That's actually going to shut this down completely. All 8 of this is blocked. And then we're going to see this Whelming Gust Wave come out, which I think will have to be blocked. But it's going to be very awkward to do, actually, because he does not want. Yeah, so the Whelming Gust Wave comes out. This is only. This is actually for 2 with go again, and if it hits, it will draw, and then it will also draw 1 from the Plunder Run. So this is actually really important to stop. I would just block with a card from hand because he does still have that Breaking Scales. He could block exactly 2 with equipment, but it would be risky. And yeah, we're going to see the Hit and Run come out from hand. It's not really needed here. And that is going to stop this. So he at the cost of using a bunch of his cards, he did manage to stop this big turn from Ninja. And now he doesn't have that much to do on his own turn. He can charge up his Tunic and swing his Dawnblade. Now, the good thing about this is he does have a Quicken token granting Hit and Run. Or, I'm sorry, a Quicken token granting Go Again. So this is 3 with Go Again, and if it's not blocked, he can throw out another attack. And it is actually going to be stopped by the Flick Flack we saw in Arsenal. So this is a defense reaction. If the next card you defend with this turn is a card with combo, it gains +2. The text is, you know, wasted here, but the fact that it just is going to stop the attack is probably good enough. And so now we're going to see Matt moving to try to put together another big attack here. Both players are at low life, but Matt actually has a slight advantage on tempo right now. So we're going to see what happens here. Additionally, if you look at the player's armor, So Matt actually has 3 block remaining. He can block for 2 with his mask and 1 with his tunic. And Will only has 2 block remaining unless he goes lower on life to use his skull cap for another 3 block. So one of the extra nice things about that Mask of Momentum is that it is actually going to make it so that your later attacks are going to become pretty dangerous. So he starts off with a Kadachi and then goes to a leg tap. I think we're going to see quite possibly pitch Scar into CNC, or we're going to see just straight Scar after this. He has some options. 3 block, taking 1 damage. Okay, just trying to save some life there. But we are going to see, I think we're going to see Katsu's ability used to get a Rising Knee Thrust here. Just to extend that combo a little bit, and then if that hits, it will draw a card from Mask, and that will in turn probably allow him to pay for that CNC. So this is I don't know why Will blocked 3 here. I think I would have tried to stop that completely. So then this is for 5. So he's going to have to double block there, which means that his next turn is going to be pretty weak. Oh, and then the tunic used to play CNC. And the CNC, obviously, the text here is not very relevant, but the damage is very relevant. And this is probably going to force out that E-Strike on defense. Yep, and so, we are seeing Matt really gaining an advantage here. So not only did he make his opponent use all his cards to block, he got some damage through as well. So that was a really good turn for Matt. He has the advantage on tempo, and now he has the advantage on life as well. Let's see if he can close out this game. Now, he has enabled his opponent's Arcanite Skullcap here, so this does mean that there is that 1 equipment block that Will is going to be able to use. Probably you're going to want to use that against like a second Kadachi attack. But we'll have to see how this goes. It does look like Matt has a natural leg tap into Rising Knee Thrust in his hand. But it is a yellow Rising Knee Thrust, so that's a lot worse than some of the other options. His hand is also... Yeah, his hand is kind of janky, actually. I don't know, but he can pitch the Rising Knee Thrust, do Kadachi, leg tap. That doesn't seem terrible. And then he can, if the leg tap hits, he could swap it for a Rising Knee Thrust with his Flick Flack. That actually seems pretty good. If he pitches the Surging Strike, though, his Kadachis won't have Go Again because it doesn't cost 0. So that's going to be a little awkward. So just one note, this is almost always used with Go Again, but you do have to have a card in your pitch zone with cost 0 to give it Go Again. So we do see a lot of Ninja decks that are playing a bunch of cards that have cost 0 to enable this. But, that's one of those things where it's not saying you're going to get every turn. So interestingly, he's going to start off with the Rising Knee Thrust pitch into the leg tap, which will, if this hits, he will be able to search with his Flick Flack. And, oh yeah, so I think that also then if this is blocked, so if this hits, he can search with his Flick Flack, and if this is blocked, he can throw out the Surging Strike, and then that would have to be blocked for 4, which is going to be pretty awkward. So he does have Will in an awkward spot here. Even though he doesn't have the most optimal loadout for the Kadachi attack action gameplay, he still has a pretty threatening thing to do here. As he could Surging Strike. Yeah, in fact, if he were to if this is blocked, Will is asking, is his effect have to be the first time you play an attack card, or is it just when the first one hits, even if it's the third one played? So yeah, it is the first time an attack action card you control hits each turn. You may discard a card with cost 0. If you do search your deck for a card with combo, banish it face up, and then shuffle your deck, you may play it this turn. So we do see the block coming out, the out for blood, and a piece of equipment used to block for 4. And then pitching 2 for the Surging Strike, also coming in for 4. If this hits, he will be able to use Katsu's ability to switch out that leg tap for a... or I'm sorry, not leg tap. Switch out that Flick Flack for a copy of Whelming Gustwave, which he could then play as it costs 0, and that would threaten a card draw, so that's actually very dangerous. I think it's entirely possible that we're going to see a block with Bracers plus a card. That's exactly what we see. That is going to stop this, so he had to use up his remaining equipment blocks except for his Tunic, but Will did manage to stop this, and he actually can now use his Tunic to play Flock, which will give him a which will not only throw out some damage, but it will also give him a go again for next turn, which he can pair with this Dauntless for a very aggressive turn. So this is, Will does have an opportunity to regain some tempo here. Let's see how Matt responds. The 5 damage from this Flock of the Featherwalkers is actually pretty threatening with the life totals this low. Though actually, Matt might opt to take the damage so that he can play the Scar for a Scar that he has in his hand without and give it go again for free. It would be an interesting option, but he may just try to go for the throat here. The problem is he knows that there's that Dauntless and he knows that there's a Quicken token, so if Warrior gets even a small amount of stuff, it's going to be a very scary turn, but he opts to take the damage. This is enabling his Scar for a Scar. When you play Scar for a Scar, if you have less life than your opponent, it gains go again. This is a very strong card. He's gone down to less life. That does enable the Scar for a Scar, and I think that must be what he's thinking about as he opts to take all this damage. Can he combo out his opponent? He does still have that mask available on the defense as well as his Tunic. And so we get a little Yu-Gi-Oh joke going on there. And then, ooh, man. So Will actually has an extremely scary hand right now. If he gets to go into his next turn with a bunch of cards, I think it's very possible this is just going to end the game. But I say if. And here comes the Life for a Life for 4 with Go Again. This is an excellent card to have in this situation. And additionally, it could potentially enable the... it looks like it's going to be blocked for 3. And this could lead to the... this is going to lead to a trigger from Katsu, I believe. 1 damage. Yep, Katsu triggers. I think we're going to see him use the Snapdragon Scalers here to force Whelming Gustwave into Magenshi Release. Yep, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So now the Whelming Gustwave comes out. This is only for Strength 3. It doesn't have combo, but he's going to be able to use the Snapdragon Scalers to grant Go Again. And then he's going to be able to do the Magenshi Release with combo. So Will can see this stuff on the board. The question is what he's going to do about it. So blocking the Whelming Gustwave is probably unwise here. But... So this one is coming in for 3. It's kind of a complicated situation, actually. He might want to block it. Why is he blocking? Okay, so he blocks for 4 to deny the Breaking Scales hit. So he is going to stop the mask, but then the Magenshi Release coming in here for 5 Go Again, and if it hits, search your deck for any number of cards named Lord of Wind, reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle. This is actually incredibly dangerous, and I think it was a big mistake for Will to block the Whelming Gustwave in the way that he did, which is low priority. But he does have the 2 cards in hand to block the Lord of Wind, so he has now stopped it, but at the expense of all his cards. I think it might have been better to let the Whelming Gustwave hit and then have that defense available for the Magenshi Release. He does manage to stop it, but it takes all his cards to do so, and once again, we're going to have a full turn here from Matt. Will is now, I believe, out of armor. Maybe he has a point left on Bracers? I thought he had blocked twice with Bracers. I'm going to ask them. Yeah. From the top-down view, I couldn't tell, but there were actually 2 tokens stacked on top of each other. So that's what I thought. Bracers has been used up. So it's just 4 life with no equipment left. And now we're going to see these Kadachi get really dangerous. So he doesn't have armor for those Kodachi hits. He's just going to take some damage. Wow, but freaking Matt has an awkward hand here with a defense reaction in arsenal and one in hand. What are we going to see him do here? This Soul Bead Strike is incredibly good right now, actually. In fact, it's extraordinarily threatening. So this is Strength 4, and if it hits, it gains Go Again. And because there's no armor left, it's going to actually necessitate a double block from hand. But I think he can double block from hand and be fine. So that's exactly what we're going to see. Yep, double block. Okay. This could be Matt's window. He has the Go Again from the Quicken token. He has a chance to attack. He has the Dauntless. I think we're going to see Dauntless come out. Oh, what is he doing? He's going for the one huge attack here. So he forfeits his ability to use that Quicken token, or really to make a second attack. By playing this, he's now out of energy, so even if this attack hits, he doesn't have the energy to actually go for the kill. He is coming in for 9 though, and the next defense reaction costs 1 more. That is a powerful attack. I suspect what we're going to see though is the Mask of Momentum used on the defense. And the reason that I say that is that Mask of Momentum is now dead in that Will only has 2 health, and Mask of Momentum necessitates 3 hits in a row. So because Mask of Momentum necessitates 3 hits in a row, it's going to be a situation where there isn't any way to trigger it anymore unless Will heals. And for that reason, I think it's time for Matt to use it on the defense. So that's 2 block. He has 3 health, so he can block 2 with his mask. This is coming in for 9. He could then potentially block with his tunic also. And Matt correctly points out you have no cards or resources, right? So Go Again is meaningless right now. Will says, yep. I think this might have been better if he kept the Warrior's Valor in his hand. Not only for its own effect, but also for the potential... bluffing. So we're going to see both defense reactions played with the tunic and a 3 cost used. And I think we're going to just see, this looks like an E-Strike turn to me. Could be an E-Strike turn for both players. E-Strike 7. Very dangerous. Probably going to need a 6 block here. Yeah, I think we're going to see, I think in all likelihood, what we see here is Will blocking with the hit and run and the response, and then throwing out his own E-Strike 7. But Matt definitely has the advantage because blocking 6 is going to take Will down to 1 health, and then you have to block each of those Kadachi pokes for 1 damage, which is really, really, really not where you want to be, because it means your opponent can all of a sudden, be threatening to kill you with multiple must block attacks. Like you can just do like pitch blue, Kadachi, any attack, and that is 3 things that are threatening lethal once you're at 1 health. So even though this is probably only going to get 1 damage through, that 1 damage is actually critical. So I think what we're going to see is Will double block and then throw out his own E-Strike 7, but Matt can just double block that in return, or even single block plus use his mask, though he doesn't want to do that because it would put him into... If he single blocks and uses mask, it puts him into Steel Blade Shot instant kill range, which I think he wants to avoid, as I believe there's still going to be some Steel Blade Shunts in this deck. I think we've seen 1 of them played. Yeah, in all likelihood he has 2 or 3. So it would be extremely dangerous to actually play... It would be extremely dangerous to actually, and yeah, I don't think he's running healing either. So it would be extremely dangerous to actually go down to 1 HP. So I think that we could see him block with both his mask, tunic, and 1 other card though. And then that would be a total of block 7, assuming that he had a 3 block, or I'm sorry, that would be a total of block 6, assuming that he had a 3 block in hand. Then he goes to 2 health, which is like, there is actually a risk that Will would draw a double Steel Blade Shunt and kill him. But it's it's not that likely. So Will has to think about his defense here, but I think in all likelihood he blocks with hit and run, he blocks with Iron Song response, he takes 1. And then and that's exactly what we see. And then he's going to throw out his own E-Strike 7, and then so E-Strike. He could actually do E-Strike 5, draw a card, but I think E-Strike 7 is better here because you want to just put as much stress on your opponent's defense as possible. You don't really have the like luxury of going for the card draw. So coming in for 7. Um, and there is a lot of 2-block here in Matt's hand. Does make that a bit more awkward, but it also means we might see he could also block like he could do like a he could do a 7-block all from hand and then just throw out 2 Kadachi pokes and get the opponent down to 2 cards. Um, Honestly, once you're at 1 health against Ninja, you're in a lot of trouble. I think that it might. I think it might actually be a good idea for Matt to play this conservatively. He does still have the mask block though, so he could also do. He could like do Lord of Wind and Surging Strike on defense. So that's 5, and then the mask for the total of 7, and then pitch, plunder, run, Kadachi, head jab, and then your opponent has to block with 3 cards or die. So that would be, I think, a pretty strong. I think that would be a pretty strong move. Matt has a very big advantage here at this point, and I do think that the best option for him is going to be to play this conservatively now, because his Kadachi are going to be such a huge advantage in terms of tempo and card advantage at this point. I think he actually just wants to defend heavily. He only defends 6. I actually think this is risky. Okay, so there is a risk that we're gonna see double Steel Blade Shunt. It's not gonna we see 0 Steel Blade Shunts here, so it's not gonna happen this turn. But dying to double Shunt would be a very sad way to end this game, and I actually would have preferred to see a full defense there. So every single card now needs to be blocked though, and so block. Surging Strike coming in for 5. That's going to need to be a double block. Will saving his Springboard Somersault, but that last card is a head jab, and he's going to need to use that Somersault to defend it. And there we go. So, no damage done, but he uses up his opponent's entire hand. If Will draws double Shunt, though, this could end the game. No Shunts. That's really the one thing, is that I think that I think Matt has put himself in a somewhat risky situation. I mean, though it's also possible Will isn't even playing 3 blue shunts. I mean, I personally do play 3 blue shunts, but it's possible that he's not, or that he only has 2 or whatever. And this is actually a safer situation for Matt. But I would have wanted to block all of that damage from the Enlightened Strike just to prevent the risk of the double shunt kill. The looks like he has a weird hand this turn, actually. Grendel says he has double shunted me in the past. Yeah, that's a sad way to go. So, just for anyone who's not familiar with Steel Blade Shunt, it actually does do damage that can't be prevented by normal means. Actually, I'm not going to look at that right now. I'm going to look at what's happening here, but it's really boring. Kadachi, it's blocked. Kadachi, it's blocked. Soulbead Strike, it's going to be double blocked. 4, and if it hits, go again. Double block. And then Unmovable and Arsenal. So Matt now, even if his opponent somehow gets a shot at attacking, Matt has great defense. The big question is, are we going to see the double shunt? I mean, that's really the only thing that I think we're looking at as an out. And, he's low enough on cards. I think it's possible that this means that he just isn't running them, because I think we would have seen them by now. On the other hand, that might just mean that they're clumped together, which would increase the chance of a double shunt. Is he gonna be able to keep up the defense? I don't know. I think this turn he might just bite the dust, because it looks like there's gonna be the Surging Strike and then some other attack, and I don't think he has the defense for that. Yeah, he's dead, because he has to double block. He has to double block the Surging Strike, and then the Magenshi release is gonna come out, and the combo isn't enabled, but it will still just kill him. Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, looks like it was he would not have gotten the double shunt on the next turn. He did have the two shunts in there, but he just did not draw them, and did not draw them together. And Will says, GG, kept giving me those chances at double shunt, couldn't find them. And Matt said, GG, I just bank on you not getting both in one hand since one was already used. If you do, then oh well. Yeah, so, I think Matt might have benefited from playing a little more conservatively just to totally deny the chance of the double shunt. But he was in control of the game here. Once you get down to really low health from the ninja and those one damage Kadachi pokes end up threatening a kill, I think you do end up in a position where you really have to be very defensive. Um, and you can't really survive it very easily because even a relatively weak hand from a ninja can actually kill. So you end up in these circumstances where it's like, pitch blue, Kadachi, any attack. And that merits defending with at least 3 cards. And then they can, in this situation, maybe you swing Dawnblade and then they defend with 1 card. And then next turn they do the same thing and you have to defend with 3 cards. And, the tempo and card economy there is just really, really unfavorable for the warrior player. So you have to, as warrior, you have to try to prevent the game from getting into the situation where both players are really low. Unless, of course, you can get those shunts to finish off the opponent. But, it's one of those things. And they're discussing sideboarding a little bit now. Matt is talking about how he's removed some of the cards that have inherent go again against Warrior because they only block for 2. So Ninja does have a lot of cards that only block for 2, and that can be a weakness when you have to stop those on-hit effects. But in this game, we saw Matt doing a good job there. He took some of those big attacks, and in some cases, there were like huge attacks coming in, and he decided to just eat them and swing back with his own combos, and it did end up working out for him. He was able to get the game down to that phase where, Will was really low and just kind of desperately blocking, hoping to draw the double shunt, and it didn't come up. So congratulations to Matt for the victory. That's going to do it for this stream, and we will be back later with more Flesh and Blood content. Thanks for watching, guys.